All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're back at it with more Run 8, and we're going to continue taking our train north on Hyrail Simulation's amazing Fitzgerald subdivision. You remember the last video, we left off down here in Brown Sand. We met a southbound Q544. This is circa 2002, 2003, so back then that would have been Cincinnati to Jacksonville auto rack service with some Talleyrand's on the head end. We're going to take this all the way to Gay, of course, up on the Manchester sub. The actual route would have been, back in the day, would have been Fitzgerald to Atlanta, but Gay is as far as we can go north, so let's go ahead and we'll hop in our cab here and see about getting going. We got a few loose ends to take care of. Let me make sure that we've got, okay, we got auto going. Let's set our reverser. Let's get some headlights going here. There we go with that. Let's get some cab lights so we can see a little bit better as well. Let's release the parking brake. It's not legit. It's totally not legit. Parking brakes aren't legit in real trains. It's just something they have in the sim for this, but make it a little easier, right? We do have a light, as you can see. So we got to clear on the north end of Brown Sand here. Let's get up a tag so you guys can see where we're at. And we'll get the windows open. All right, I think, you know what? We're going to do something else too. We're going to open up the rear door. We're going to get some poor man's air conditioning going here, right? All right, let's come out on the throttle a little bit here. And let's release the independent a little bit. Let's release the big brake. And we'll ease out on the independent. All right, she gonna do it? Maybe. Maybe love. There we go. All right, had to give her a little bit more. We're kind of sitting in a bowl right now. Basically, if I remember correctly, we're kind of in a little bit of a bowl. Let's see, our EOT is moving, so we're good on that. 82 on the rear. All right, guys, I think we're in business. We're in business. Let's head north. And I want us to have one more train to meet. Now, we've already met pretty much everyone that's been on the map. But what we're going to do in order to have one more meet is we're going to hit F1. We're going to go to trains, and I'm going to scroll down for the one that I want us to meet. It's going to be the Q213. He's going to spawn up there on the main line in Gay, and we're going to do spawn as AI, and he should be good to go. So that's how you would do that. Usually when I set these up, right, I'll build the scenario. I'll have trains on the map pre-positioned at different locations that we're going to meet, right? And then I'll have more trains that I spawn in as we roll along. Like once we go through the trains that are already on the map, then I start spawning them in as we move north. So I hope that kind of makes sense. All right, let's give it a little bit more throttle here. All right, out of Brown Sand. They do a lot of, I guess you would call it sand mining. I guess it's sand mining. I don't know. They get a lot of sand. A lot of sand originated here over the years. All right. I think everything is good to go. We shouldn't have anything to meet immediately. It's going to be a little bit... Yeah, I'm trying to think. I may have to intervene with auto. I think that meet with Q213 would work out really nice at Manchester. I think we're going to do 2 more videos. We'll go to Manchester and then we'll cut it off, and then we'll finish up going to Gay, because I don't think like it'll be really long if we do the whole thing in one go. We may set some cars out in Manchester. That's what the 544 did back in the day. At least I remember he had a Manchester cut. And I think that's what we're going to do. We don't really have any Manchester cars per se in this train. Nothing that they would really take there that I can think of. But you know what? We'll set some out anyway. We'll go through the motions and kind of show how it went down. You know, how they did it back in the day. Let's give a little bit more throttle here. Grade between here and Talbotton's a lot of up and down, nothing really major. We got a little bit of a climb going into the south end, I think, and then it kind of drops down, flattens out a little bit, and then has the big drop down to the big Liza. And then we have a big climb up into Woodbury, and then a little bit more of a climb up into Manchester. Let's get all this going here. Let's see. We got a reduction of 35 in 2 miles. The track speed is 40 through here. And we got a crossing coming up, so we'll blow for that. And we may have to turn this down just a little bit, guys. I'm the worst. I don't ever use my headset. I really should. Then it wouldn't be a problem. I just don't want this coming back in the audio. Come out, throttle just a tad here. Yeah, we'll kill the bell. And we're rolling up on Junction City. Junction City is a really cool area. I like Junction City a lot. It's got a huge fill. I'm not for certain on this, but to me, like, just from what I remember and what I know, it's like it's got to be one of the bigger fills on the entire route. Like, it is a huge fill that they did through there. And we'll just kind of coast along through here. We're gonna cross the we're gonna cross through town, and then we'll cross the NS right up here. There it is. There's the NS. I think that's what, Columbus to Fort Valley or something like that. I'm really not sure, to be honest, on that. I'll throttle a little bit more. We'll trigger that DD there.
Detector, mile post 762.7.
Anyway, really glad you guys have enjoyed this. It's been a blast. I've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, it's a pretty challenging route to run. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's like you're constantly doing something, right? You're constantly working the throttle, constantly using your brakes. Blowing for crossings is always something going on. There's never a dull moment on this route. All right, coming by. That's going to be a industry there. That switch, like, that was there when I worked. It's been there for ages, though I don't ever remember them doing something down there. I want to say way back in the day they may have loaded sand down there. Let's give a little bit more throttle here. Yeah, I want to say they may have loaded some sand down there. There's a lot of mining that goes on up here. We'll go by the two big rock quarries in a minute here. We'll get slowed down for just 35. Kind of worked out perfect with throttle modulation, right? Kind of ease out of it a little bit and it slows you right down. I'm trying to figure out how Otto is going to have this meet set up with the Q213. We may have to ditch Otto and kind of intervene a little bit on that. We'll take a peek in a second here. That's really cool there with the kudzu. I love kudzu. It's a pest. Like, it takes over everything, but it's really cool to see in game.
Equipment defect detector mile post 762.7. No defects. Total axle 386. End of transmission.
Alright, there you go. We're good to go on the DD. Coming up on Winchester Junction here. This is going to be one of the big rock mines, Martin Marietta, as you see in the tag. I want to say this is the place, that track, that little tail track that comes off there. I want to say this is a spot where they had a big, huge rock that they used as a stop, as a bumper. We should go back up to 40 right here. Let's count this off and kill the bell. So we're 5,700 and change, so not too bad. Pretty typical train for back then. They didn't have those monsters like they do now. Oh, probably getting a little bit fast there too. Yeah, we are. We have to grab some air. I think we are here. Little bit of air. Like I said, it's not the end of the world if you run a little bit fast, as long as it's just a few miles an hour, nothing crazy, right? Like, you don't want to be doing 10 over. You don't want to be doing 10 over because the track's always going to be better for what it's rated at speed-wise, right? Like you're always like they give you a speed a little below what the track's good for to give you a little bit of a cushion, but you're okay. Like I said, I remember working with guys that ran they ran 3 mile an hour over everywhere. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if you're going into siding, if you're rolling down the main. He ran 3 over, you know. That's just the way he ran, and I was fine with that. You know, it's like if it got up, you know, 5 is where I started kind of like getting a little bit antsy. I'd say something at 5. But listen, you know, you watch your speed a little bit there, all right? We're all right. All right, so we went by Martin Marietta. Got Highway 90 coming up here as well as Talbotton. Let's take a peek. We're going to kind of cheat a little bit and see what Otto's doing. Now, of course, in real life, you don't have this luxury. You don't have this luxury at all. It looks as if he might be setting us up in Woodland. I think we're going to kind of let this play out a little bit. We're going to give Otto the benefit of the doubt, right, and see what he does. I would like this meet to work out in Manchester. I think that would be the perfect spot. We can go into south siding there. That way we can make our set out, and he can just roll on by down to Maine. All right, CSX Q544 got clear by Highway 90. Got a little bit of a sag right here. You can kind of see it. Or it could be flat with an uphill. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. It may appear like it's going downhill, but we're actually flat. All right, it's going to be Junction City Mining up here. Places. I think they're not too terribly old. They were built before I hired out, but not long before I did in the early 2000s. So they've been around for a while, but they're still kind of fairly new to the route. Kill our counter there. We don't need that anymore. Yeah, Martin Marietta. Okay, now that I've seen this spur, Martin Marietta is the one that had the big rock that they used as a bumper. Yeah, they run unit rock trains out of there. K trains, at least they were back in the day, and they all ran south. I was thinking about that the other night. I don't remember any of those trains ever going north. Not to say that they didn't, but I definitely remember them all going south. They went down to Florida, as best I can remember. All right, let's peek on Otto one more time. Yeah, I just want to make sure. It looks like I'm thinking Otto is going to try to meet us at Woodland, which is okay. If that works out, that's fine. We can meet him at Woodland as long as it times out right. But I don't want Otto running him in the siding at Manchester to meet us, because we need to take the siding. And that was one of those operational challenges back in the day for these trains that set out in Manchester. You know, they had to go in the south siding, and usually when they did their set outs and stuff like that, it tied up the entire yard. It's like it was a big deal. They're gonna come by the distant to Talbotton here. That's a misspelling. It's not Talbottom, it's Talbotton. I tell you guys right now, this distant to Talbotton is a short block. As soon as you pop around that curve and you see that as an approach, you better grab some air. You know, if you've got any kind of a train, you know, if you've got a decent train, go ahead and grab some air and take some action. Let the train start doing something. And then, you know, if you have to, at least that gives you time to kind of go in dynamics, and then you can always knock the air off if you need to, right? You don't have to ride it all the way in, but either way, if you come around that curve, and I can't stress this enough, if you come around that curve and you see an approach, do something immediately. Don't dink around and wait, right? Like, you've got to do something then. It's not a long block. It's like, I think it's like a mile and a half, really, which isn't that bad. You know, we had a lot of blocks like that back then, about a mile and a half. This just is one of those deals where you couldn't mess around. If you saw an approach, you did something right then and there. And there were no advanced warnings. There were no advanced approaches or approach mediums or, you know, anything like that. Like, you just purely went from clear to approach. You see, we're climbing up that little knot in the Talbotson here, 0.72. And we got an approach. Yeah, that's definitely not good. All right, let's get some air. Yeah, we're going to have to draw this down tight. See if we can do it here. This is 1.3 miles on next signal, so we should be fine. We're going to go ahead and get it down to at least 30. I think Otto had his line from the last video, but he didn't continue our he didn't continue lining us up the rest of the way. All right, let's knock the air back off. We're good now. Let's go ahead and dial him up real quick. Channel 14. Let's heard us make transition there. All right, there we are. Channel 14. Let's do star 5 DTMF. All right, request lights. Yeah, we'll just ease on around there. See, that's another instance where it's kind of, that would be the same as the distance to Talbotson, right? It's about 1.3 miles, give or take. So just grab you some air and it's not a problem. All right, we have to go around there looking out. We asked for a signal, and he said proceed on signal indication, but it doesn't mean we got a light. Like, he doesn't know, right? What his board tells him could be completely different than what we have here because things don't work right. Things tear up. So we'll go around there looking out. We may have to go in with a little dynamic, honestly. Yeah, we'll ease on around there. Signal a little bit. We're just not going to be able to see it. It's kind of right in that curve around there a little bit. sweet. All right, we're good to go. All right, let's kill the bell. I'm trying to think how we want to do this here because we're fixing to like go over the waterfall right up here. Gonna be one of our biggest downhills. So I'm trying to think if we just want to kind of just coast along and keep it in dynamic so we can just go right in. I don't really want to pull on it and then like have to come back out of power and then pull and then go into dynamics. So we'll see. All right, let's double check our meat here, see what he's doing. Yeah, it still kind of looks like he's planning. Yeah, either we're going to hold the main at Woodland or yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to intervene, guys. I think we're going to intervene on this. I think that's going to be the plan. So let's go ahead. Let's turn off auto. And let's go back. I want to ensure that we get the south siding if we need that, right? We may not need it. We'll see. All right, we should be starting heading downhill here pretty quick. We're already on the 0.75 down. We could have pulled on it a little bit probably and just going right back into dynamics or use some air really. Yeah, I think we might just do that instead. There, we do have that 35 up there we have to remember as well too. We're not going to get too crazy with it. One of my favorite spots in the entire game right here. I love this bridge. This location is so cool. Alright, there we go. We'll just coast along. Go ahead and set up dynamics. Yeah, we'll ride dynamics down on this one. It's pretty much downhill the whole way. And it levels out at the bottom over the big Liza. There's a little bit of a knot. Like it levels out and I think there's a little knot and then you got the bridge and then you start back up again, right? Something like that. So we have a little reprieve at the bottom where we have time to like come out of dynamics and go into power and all that stuff. So like I said, that's the way I run. That is, you know, you can run it however you like. That's just my own personal philosophy for running, but you can do it a lot of different ways. All right, there's our 35. Yeah, she wanted to run a little bit fast on us. We got her back down there. Of course, she'll drag through these curves a little bit. The resistance of these curves. And she'll run fast on us in the straightaways. Yeah, it's going to be our 40 right here. Let's go ahead and count that off. All right, so we don't have to worry about auto anymore. We know we're good. We may still meet at Woodland. It depends on how far down he comes before we get up there. Let's double check. Let's see what he's doing here. Where is he at? Oh yeah, he's just past Woodbury. He's going to be climbing up to Persico. He's climbing up Persico Hill, so he's going to be dragging for a bit. Manchester may actually work out for us. We'll see. Depends on how quick we climb out of the Big Liza right up to Woodland. So far, it hasn't been too bad of a trip, guys. It's actually been really good. It's been a good trip. We've had a lot of good meets. Autos worked out pretty well for us. Of course, we didn't overcomplicate it with northbound AI traffic. If we put in a few northbound AI trains, it would have completely changed up the dynamic, right? We probably would have had to sit and wait longer at different spots because other trains would be ahead of us taking sidings or whatever. So, you know, the northbound traffic light could definitely complicate things. It adds another layer of complication to it. But all right, we're in the 40 now. We can ease out of the dynamics just a hair. There, I got this straightaway right here. It's going to run us a little faster right here, even though the grade's slacked a lot. We'll kill our counter there. We don't need that. And for those of you who might be wondering, I know I've showed this before back in the day. The settings that we run pretty much everything on, minus the realistic alerter, but we do allow slippery rail, allow brake valve failures, cold weather, air brake effects, realistic train handling, realistic independent braking, string line derailments, switch derailments, tip over derailments. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Minus the alerter. I didn't want that thing going off all the time. Like, I don't need to hear that. We're okay. We make a little bit of a concession on that. All right, she's slowed up on us a good bit here. Let's go ahead and come out of dynamics. And we'll start pulling on her. All right, you see we're going over a little knot here right before the bridge. Or I say little knot, it's 0.85. It's pretty decent. It's just not very long. All right, so we came down all bunched up, and then we're bunched up going on the uphill side of this little spot right here, so we kind of got to be careful about easing out, right? She's probably not getting pulled out good till right about now. Let's take a peek at her, see what she's doing real fast. Yeah, see, she's pulled out. Now, we got a little bit of tension on the head end there. See, we got a 35 reduction in 2 miles. That's not going to be a problem, though, because we're going to be climbing up hills. So we should do it. I guess we went up the fall line, Georgia fall line at, what was it, about 25 or a hair under. So we should probably do about the same, maybe a little less because of the curves. We'll see what she does. All right, how's our meet looking there? Yeah, 213 still coming up Persico Hill. We may wind up meeting him at Manchester. We'll see. We'll let it play out a little bit more. All right, CSX Q544 got clear by Big Liza. And there you go. There's the big Liza down there. Private road taken care of. We can kill the bell. I don't think we have any more crossings for a while. I think it's going to be a little stretch without any kind of roads. At least for a little bit. I think that's actually the only crossing between the north end of Talbotton and I think there's some a little bit south of Woodland, but it's a ways. Like it's kind of barren through here, a little bit sparse, right? There's not much, kind of rural, rugged. See, that grade's climbing up on us pretty good here. Maybe about a 1% roughly, give or take. We'll have her climb into Woodland, and then it's going to flatten out a good bit there. Just pretty much the entire siding. Pretty flat through there, and then we climb one more time up the Dunn Gap where we cross Pine Mountain, and then we'll drift into Manchester. You see our speed's coming on down to 35, so we don't have to worry about that reduction. And then on top of that, we've got all these curves. So yeah, 1% grade here, 1% up the fall line, but the difference is this one's a lot more curves, a lot curvier. Going up between Rupert and Malk isn't nearly as bad, curve-wise. Make sure we're in number 8. Yeah, we're good on that. It's 1656, almost 1700. So we'll be rolling into Gay for a late evening arrival. Be a really late evening arrival in Atlanta if we went all the way up there. If we could, of course we can't. But always like going in Atlanta at night. I like seeing the skyline. Like I said, I sat at Tilford many a night on the bench at Pine Street, just looking at the skyline. It was always cool to do. Take a peek back here, see what she looks like. That's a pretty cool scene there. I love that shot. I don't know what it is. It's so appealing about it, right? Just looking down your train like that. It's been a good train. This has been a really, really good running train. Not any problem at all. I'm trying to think. Did we have stuck brakes on it, taking it out of Waycross when we left way back? Whenever it's been several videos back. We did the first half of the trip Waycross to Fitzgerald like they had their short pool back in the day. I want to say we may have had stuck brakes maybe once. That was probably totally my fault. Of course, we getting that alerter. Alright, yeah, we're going to run up about 24, maybe 23 mile an hour. Looks like it's pretty much settled. odd blank milepost right there. It should have the mile on it. For some reason it doesn't. I don't know what's up with that. Up under Jeff Hendricks Road. And then that'll be the distant to Woodland. By the old wood yard. Used to be a pulpwood yard sitting there. Used to be pulpwood yards all over the place back in the day. What do we got here? We got an advanced approach. Yeah, I think we're going to keep going with it. We're going to go ahead and line ourselves in at Manchester. 213 can wait. Be a big deal. 213 can absolutely wait. All right, we got a clear on the distant to Woodland. Q544. It says North Woodland. That's a typo. Should be South Woodland. Yeah, go by the signal here. I'm trying to think, where was the wood yard at? I don't even think the wood yard was here when I worked. I've seen pictures of it. There's pictures of it online, but I don't think it was here when I worked. I want to say it was right in through here. It kind of went off back up in there a little bit. Just pulpwood yard. Like I said, there were tons and tons of pulpwood yards along the route back in the day. I've heard them talking about running the long distance local between Waycross and Manchester back in the day, and having like 100 cars of pulpwood. This is a crazy amount of pulpwood, wood chips, sand, and rock, just all kinds of stuff. Like, that was a monster of a train back in the day. They roll it up into town with like GP7s on the head end or something like that. It's something crazy. I couldn't imagine running that train with a GP7 on the head end and no dynamic brakes, like nothing like that, just nothing but air, right? But that's like what they did, you know. They used air. They wasn't a big deal. They had a lot of locomotives that didn't have dynamics, you know. All the GP7s, the GP16s, which were the GP7 rebuilds, or GP9s too. I think I had a few GP9s in that too. So GP16s, you know, GP7s, and I'm trying to think. I think there were a few random units sprinkled out here and there that didn't have dynamics as well too, but those were the bulk of it. And then later on, the CSX acquired the Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac, or whatever it's called, and none of their locomotives had dynamics either. So I mean, you're talking about them rostering locomotives on up through the 90s that didn't have any kind of dynamics on them. All right, CSX Q544 got clear by South Woodland. We'll go into South Siding, and then we're going to tie it down and call it a day. And then our very final video, we'll do a set out there in the yard, kind of like what they did back in the day. And then we'll take the train to Gay, and that will be it for this. And then we'll do something else. We won't be done with Run 8, but we'll do something else. May do something down south. There's so many different options, right? There's so many different options you could do. And I think a lot of people aren't aware of like how the pools worked out, but you know, we could run Fitzgerald to Jacksonville. We could run Waycross to Jacksonville. You know, like there's so many different ways we could do it. You know, if you're really feeling you know, like adventurous, you could do the Manchester to Jacksonville 270 something miles, a really long pool, but we're not going to do that. Maybe one of these days, but not anytime soon. That was a super long pool, and I think they were running short on time just pretty much every time they got to Jacksonville. They were running short on time, and then they had to do all that switching down there too. Yeah, let's see where Q213's at. So yeah, we're kind of dispatching a little bit on this one as well too. That worked out pretty good. It's not bad because he's climbing up into Manchester too anyway, so he's probably dragging. He's probably a little bit draggy. So we got this little short section, or it says 45. I could have swore this was 50 through here, but it could be different because the speeds, like, these are 2005 speeds on the route. Everyone asks about the route time period. The route, like, the physical structure is like 2002, 2003, but the speeds are 2005 because 2005 timetable is readily available to everyone. Like, you can find it online, no problem. Of course, it's flat as a pancake through woodland here. Some really nice pictures. A friend of mine that was a big rail fan back in the 70s and 80s, and he's made a ton of pictures in woodland, their own railroad pictures, archives.net or whatever that's called. If you do it by location, you look at woodland, he's got some really great pictures of trains back in the day here at Woodland. Some of them like smoking like crazy going in the siding, coming down off Pine Mountain, slowing down to go in the siding. They're like pouring smoke off the wheels. Clear by North Woodland, Q544. We got this 30 up here in 1.5. It should slow us down for that, though I'm not 100% certain. We may have to come out of the throttle a little bit for that. We'll see what she does. Gets a little bit closer here. We're only in 7. All right, so thinking ahead, we're going to go through Dunn Gap. We're going to cross Pine Mountain, and then we're going to drop back down into Manchester. Now, here's the kicker. We got a restricting going in on the south end, or we should. We may have a stop there, because what's going to happen is we're going to have an approach on the distant to Manchester. That doesn't tell us if we have a stop or a restricting, so we really need to roll around to the south end of Manchester looking out to stop, because you never know. And we're going to be going down grade, and it's going to be pretty steep. So that's all stuff you have to kind of take into consideration a little bit there. Yeah, we're going to have to come out of throttle a little bit. We use throttle modulation, kind of slow her up some. We're just not on enough grade to slow her down. There we go. There's our approach. All right, CSX Q544 got approach on the distant to Manchester.
CSX. Equipment. Defect. Detector. Mile post. 7. 2.3.
Our 30 is going to be right up here in this curve. Yeah, now she really wants to slow down, right? She's really, she's really slowing down. All right, 30 on a diamond. There's our diamond board. It's our marker for Stevenson Gap. Stevenson Gap's actually going to be off to the right. It's a spot through the mountain there, little spot, but Dunn is going to be the one that takes us over. Don't know how it got the name Dunn Gap. No one ever said. I don't know if anyone actually knows. Sometimes you get that. Like, some of the guys are big into history. I was pretty big into the history. And they can tell you a lot of things, but you know, sometimes they're like, I don't know why. That's just the way it is, right? It's just Dunn Gap. I don't know. I don't know why it's called Dunn Gap. It's just the way it is. We're up here a little bit by the distant woodland. So this is one of those spots where the distance kind of overlap each other, if that makes sense. Like, we went by the distant to Manchester, but we haven't gone by the distant to woodland yet. I think what the ACL, like what their ideal signal setup was back in the day between sidings, was to have a distant, an intermediate, and then a distant, and then it's in between the two sidings. Like, that's what they really like. But of course, that depended on I don't know why I did that. I just came out of the throttle and went back in to get the alerter. Spur wasn't even thinking. Yeah, so that, you know, a lot of blocks don't have the distance to do that. They have a distant, intermediate, and a distant. There's our southbound distant woodland. Of course, woodland's a signal siding. You can go in there at 25. Really helps. Really helps coming down off the mountain.
Equipment, defect, detector, milepost.
To be able to go in there at 20, I couldn't even imagine like having to go in there at restricted speed, like having to ride the brakes down.
6, end of transmission.
Yeah, that would suck. That would basically suck to have a restricting it woodland coming off the mountain like that. Yeah, that would that wouldn't be good. It's doable. It's definitely doable, but having that signal siding makes it a lot easier. Not too bad. She's rode about 23, maybe about 22, 23, somewhere in there. A little slower on this grade. A lot more curves though, a lot more reverse curves, back-to-back curves. And I think I'm trying to figure out this yard diagram's kind of got me tripped up a little bit here. Okay, that looks like that's going to be the yard lead. The yard lead is done as a power switch. Yeah, it wasn't like that back in the day. Yard lead would have been a hand throw. It wasn't even. When they did the runaround, they actually made it a spring switch. So it was a power switch, but it was also a spring switch too. And we should be going in the south siding. It just kind of tripped me up because, okay, 10 and 2.8, the speed reductions have kind of got me mixed up a little bit here. we'll just go around there looking out. Like either way, we got to go around there looking out like it's a stop, because you never know. I mean, we got ourselves lined into the siding, but just because it shows that on the board doesn't mean that's what's actually going to be there. All right, here we go, Dunn Gap. Pretty much dead on the way it was in real life, too. Yeah, I don't get what that 20 is for, because if we're going into south siding, it should be no more than 15, because that's a restricted signal. This is kind of a tricky location too, honestly. See if we can peek this signal a little bit before we get around there. I don't think we're going to be able to. Trying to think where that signaled at, like how close it is on this curve up here. You want to ease up there because we're going downhill almost a 1% here. Our bottom isn't over the crest, so when it crests, it's going to pick up pretty good. Should be just around this curve here. All right, let's go in dynamic for it. See, we lean over and peek it just a tad. Yeah, so we're going to drop down, and then it kind of levels out a little bit in the yard there. Yes, yeah, slack run in just a little bit there. Yeah, I forgot what a tricky spot this is. Yeah, we got it restricting into the south side in Q544. Let's see where 213's at. He's sitting here waiting on us. He had to wait a minute, but it's not too bad. It wasn't too bad of a meet. There he is. Yeah, that's a little bit of a tricky spot coming down off that 1% and then going into a restricting. And you would always have to go around there looking out. Nice Nice. There's our SAS signal with the doll arm on it. Okay, yeah, this was a power switch. Spurs lost his mind. Seeing those dwarfs made it click. Yeah, that's absolutely, it was a power switch back in the day too. All right, there you go. Q213. That's going to be, I'm not really sure, honestly. I can't remember off the top of my head. Some kind of southbound loaded auto racks. I think they went to Tampa back in the day. I can't remember where it originated, but I think it went to Tampa. The thing about these auto rack trains is that the service has changed so much over the years. Yeah, we gotta get her slowed down a little bit. We're gonna get a little bit fast on us. Come around this curve, being able to stop within half the range of vision, right? Short of obstruction, of blah, 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 you know, the whole rule. You never know. They might come out here and put a banner up on you. It'd be easy to do. It absolutely would be easy to do. Could you imagine if they put banners in the game? How would that trip people up? They're so used to not like having any consequences, just running along and being fine. But man, what if they did have banners, like random banners that would pop up in restricted sidings, right? And then you have to stop. Or have a random banner pop up anywhere after a restricted signal or restricting. We're good. We can ease out of the dynamics a little bit. So we'll stop up here at the north end of the south siding. This track that we're on right now is called the south siding. And then you had yard tracks 1, 2, 3 wasn't there, and then 4, 5, and 6. 3, I'm not sure what happened to 3. 2's ripped out. 1 was ripped out as well on the south end. They had a derailment or something down there. Someone shoved through a track and then pulled back through it, or so, like they shoved through the switch and then they pulled back through it or something like that and tore up a whole bunch of stuff. And that's why 1 and 2 didn't have the south end on them. They were just stub. And then later on they put them back in. I think right now 1's back in, but and I don't know what happened to 3. 3 was there. I know 3 was there at one time. I don't really know what happened to it. Manchester was a hopping place back in the day. They had an engine service facility. They had a sand tower. They had a shop. They had all kind of stuff here. All right, 213, train looks good. Marker's hanging over. He wasn't too bad. He wasn't very long. He didn't have his Tropicanas on there today. I think that's the one that had the Tropicanas. They went up to Cincinnati on 142, the Pig. The loads did. They'd go up Cincinnati on the Pig, and then they'd come back on 213. Yeah, we got a few cars sitting down there. We'll bring her up here, ease her to a stop in front of the yard office. We'll do a set out. Like I said, next video, we'll do a set out. We'll grab the head, I don't know, 10 or 12 cars. We'll set them over. Just go through the motion, do a little switching, and to fill the video out, because the next one's going to be kind of short because we don't have very far to go. We got Woodbury and then Gay. That'll be it. There you go. 720 power sitting down there on the engine track. They used to have fuel plugs down there back in the day. Used to be a fuel plug or two. They could park the local power down there and just fuel it up on the spot. Then the engine service and all that stuff was back out towards the Lineville side, back towards the 5th Avenue that way. All right, let's start gathering up with Independent. We'll feather it. I don't know if they do this now, but I remember seeing a lot of engineers do this, feathering the Independent. On and off, on and off. It's probably a no-no nowadays, really. You see it slowed us right down, no problem. So that's pretty much how it was. The dwarf wasn't right there. They had to do that for Otto to get him to actually use the siding and that sort of thing. So they had to make a little bit of a concession there. That dwarf wasn't there. It was on around towards... going towards Atlanta that way, but all right, I think what we'll do is just go ahead and stop it right here and go full Independent, get some air, draw them down. We'll get 15. Actually, a little more. All right. Yeah, I think we're going to end it right here, guys. We're going to be sitting here for a bit, and then we're going to do some switching in the next video. All right, that's going to do it. Love all of you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the rails next time. Peace.